In the Buddhist teaching of love, we learn that there are 4 elements that can provide true love and happiness. And the first element is Maitri. Maitri means Maitri means friendship, brotherhood. The word Maitri comes from the root Mitra. Mitra means friend. L'amitié, la fraternité. When you love someone, you offer your friendship, your brotherhood. And friendship and brotherhood does not deprive him or her of his or her freedom. When you love, you maintain your whole freedom, and you help maintain the freedom of the person you love. You don't deprive him or her of his or her freedom. The offering of happiness. In your relationship with the other person, ask the question that whether you have Maitri to offer him or her. We are on an equal basis. By loving you, I retain my freedom. And by loving you, I respect your freedom. And that is Maitri. That we translate poorly as loving kindness. There should be a better word. And a friend that does not understand a friend cannot really offer his brotherhood, his friendship. And that is why to cultivate Maitri, you have to cultivate understanding. You spend your time with him or with her, with mindfulness, and you discover every day his need, his difficulties, his obstacles, his deep aspiration. And on that base of understanding, you offer Maitri, happiness. And the second is Karuna. Karuna means the capacity to understand the suffering and help remove it, transform it. The person you love has suffering in him or in her, have difficulties in him or in her. You, as someone who loves him or her, you should be able to identify that suffering, that difficulties, and try to help remove it. And the capacity of helping remove that suffering called compassion. Transforming suffering in a person you love, because you see the suffering in the person of your beloved one. And if you are not able to help him or her remove that suffering, you are not a real lover. And we used to translate Karuna as compassion. The other person suffers, and you suffer with her, you share suffering. That is the word compassion. But in true love, you don't have to suffer with him. You understand only. And your capacity of understanding help the other person not to suffer anymore. When a patient comes to a doctor, the doctor is supposed to be able to see what is wrong within the patient, what is the sickness, and the root of the sickness in the person. That is exactly karuna. And the doctor, after having identified the illness and the root of the illness, is capable of prescribing something for the removal of that illness. And the doctor doesn't have to suffer together with the patient. And that is why the word compassion is not perfect in translating. The Buddha also, he sits there, people come and cry with him, and he doesn't have to cry with them. He said, dear friends, I understand your suffering, but there is a way for you to go in order to... If the Buddha spent his time crying with Peter, he doesn't have any time left in order to help with the transformation and healing. So, in your relationship, ask the question as whether you have the element of compassion in your love. If you do, and then you are being very helpful, you are helping that person to suffer less. Your presence only helps that person to feel better. And your speech, your action, your capacity of listening deeply help him or her transform and remove the suffering. And that is the element called karuna. And in our relationship, we should be able to cultivate karuna every day. And the third element is called mudita. Joy. The kind of joy that is shared by both. If in your relationship there is only sadness, you make him cry and he make you cry, that's not love. True love should include joy. And you are able to enjoy his own joy, and he is able to enjoy your joy, because you are no longer two separate entities. You are one with the person you love. And that is why when you see that person happy, you feel very happy. And when you see that person unhappy, you are able to do something in order to help. You consider his happiness as yours. You don't say, that's your problem. In true love, there is no statement like that. Sympathetic joy. Your joy is his joy, and his joy is your joy. And you have to be able to offer joy. The question is, in your relationship, are you able to offer joy? Or you make her cry all the time? If you make him or her cry all the time, that's not true love. The willingness to love, the willingness to make him or her happy, yes, it may be there. But the capacity to love, to make him or her happy, is not yet there. It is to be cultivated. And the fourth element is upeksha. And upeksha means non-discrimination. And this is a higher form of love. You love him is not because that person belongs to the same race, having the same kind of skin color, or sharing the same kind of spiritual path. It's not because of that. You love that person because that person suffers and needs your love. That's all. Non-discrimination, the path of non-discrimination. Suppose you have 4 children, and you realize that all of them are your children. You don't want to prefer one over the 3 others. You practice upeksha, equanimity. You love Mr. Gary because Mr. Gary speaks for you, but you don't love Mr. Bush because Mr. Bush is doing the thing that you don't like. There is no equanimity in your love. Even if John Kerry has ideas that are close to you, but you still love Mr. Bush. You say, well, Mr. Bush, I have to help him also. Because if I am able to help him, I help the other half of the population. I have to do something in order to offer him more understanding, more compassion, so that he will handle the problem in the Middle East, in Iraq, in a more compassionate way. You have to love him. So you love both of them. And for American voters, it's very difficult to persuade them to love both. I have tried, but I have not succeeded. Because equanimity is inclusiveness. When you love, your love should include everyone. Whether he is black or white, or brown or yellow. Whether he is Catholic or Protestant or Jew or Buddhist or communist, you have to love them all. That is why equanimity reveals a higher level of love. It's not that young man is your son that you have to love him and you exclude the other young men. You are a true lover. You have to include sons of other families. And when you can love the sons and the daughters of other families, you are in a position to be a politician, to be a teacher. And therefore, all of us have to cultivate the quality of equanimity. The king is supposed to love everyone in the country as his or her own sons and daughters. And the king is supposed to practice equanimity. And in the tradition of Buddhism, it is said that Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, and Upeksha can be cultivated every day because these are 4 qualities that have no limits. Infinite love. And the four elements are called the 4 unlimited. Because the Maitri can become unlimited. And this is kind of love we might call love without frontiers. And when you have developed your love to that level, you are called a bodhisattva. You are called a Buddha. And there are Buddhas and bodhisattvas in our midst, in the world. There is an organization of doctors who want to serve people everywhere, not only in France, in Great Britain, but also in Africa, in Asia. And they call themselves Médecins Sans Frontières. Sans frontières, that is the word. Love without limits, frontiers. And you can develop these 4 qualities because when your heart is able to embrace everyone, every living being, it has no longer any frontier. Your heart becomes immense. And when the love in your heart is like that, you don't suffer anymore. You don't suffer anymore. You can accept everything. And the Buddha gave a very beautiful image. He said, suppose you have a bowl of water and you have a handful of salt, and you pour all the salt in the water and you stir, and the water becomes undrinkable. It's too salty. You cannot quell your thirst because that is a solution salty. But suppose you, with that handful of salt, you throw it into a river. And although the salt is diluted in the water, people continue to drink the water. And they don't suffer at all. Why? Because the river is immense. And that is why a handful of salt cannot make the river suffer. And even if you throw a handful after handful, 100, because the river is still immense, the river still doesn't suffer. So the technique is to enlarge your heart, to make it into something unlimited. And when your heart becomes immense, you can accept everything. The small things, like a handful of salt, does not make you suffer anymore. And if your heart is small, and small things can make you very unhappy. But in the case you have a big heart that can include everyone, every living being, you don't suffer anymore. And that is the quality of equanimity, all embracing.